House of the Dragon Season 1 ending has made us insanely curious about what we'll be seeing next, and it looks like many actors from the show, including Steve Toussaint, have taken the time to share their thoughts on what Season 2 might bring. On that note, let's learn more about Toussaint's clues about what comes in Season 2. We'll also look at everything we know about the upcoming Sea Snake Game of Thrones spin-off. To start with, here's where Lord Corlys stands. As Season 2 of House of the Dragon begins, star Steve Toussaint gives us a look into Lord Corlys' mind. In a recent interview, Toussaint talked about how Corlys really feels about Rhaenyra, who he's most excited to see at the upcoming Game of Thrones fan convention, and what to expect in Season 2 when the Hightowers face off against the Targaryens in a big, bloody battle. When asked where Lord Corlys will stand in Season 2, Toussaint talked about where he stands when it comes to who will be the heir, and he said it's pretty much decided that Rhaenyra is the rightful heir to the throne, no matter what he thinks of her. Also, the Hightowers' plan to take over more land is sneaky, and it seems like they're going to have to pay for it. Not to mention that his grandson has also died. Even though we know he's not his grandson, he's still his grandson. So when it comes to that, Toussaint thinks that he's at a point where he wants payback. Still, we don't know what will happen to the Hightowers in Season 2. Many people want the Hightowers to pay for being traitors, but since their Green Party has support, it won't be easy for them to lose. Lord Corlys has sworn allegiance to Rhaenyra, which means that Rhaenyra's crowning as queen weakens the Hightowers' claim to power. When it comes to Season 2, he says he hasn't seen any scripts yet, but he's heard that some good things are going to happen.
I think, yes, it does. I think the funny thing is, and that's true about Paddy, but I think it's true of the cast in general. There were people on it, from my point of view anyway, who I'd heard of.
Coming up, Graham McTavish predicts some exciting action. Sir Harold Westerling, who Graham McTavish plays, says that Season 2 of House of the Dragon will be a bit more exciting than the first one. This Scotsman plays the role of the former Lord Commander of the Kingsguard who quit serving the crown at the end of the first season. McTavish also said that more dragons are likely to heir as the Targaryens beat each other up in the next part of the story. The way things are going, he thinks that they'll end up in a civil war. Civil war is a great thing for countries to do when they don't have anyone else to fight. They seem to like fighting amongst themselves just to keep their hands in, and according to McTavish, this is no different. They've had peace for a very long time, but now they're literally destroying the kingdom from the inside. And to be honest, this is what makes a series like this so interesting. The constant divisions and taking sides is what drives the drama. Graham thinks Season 2 will move away from just the places they've been so far. He says Season 1 was a lot more about being at home, while this one will be a lot more scattered and may move a little more into the world of Game of Thrones, where there were multiple storylines going on at the same time, and the intensity with which they're bringing the upcoming season will make it seem like we've been part of this journey for a long time. Lastly, the show's creator says things are going to pick up real fast in Season 2. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Ryan Condal talked about how the first season set up the second season to be very intense. He also said that he really wanted to take time to do this because he wanted everyone to know who these characters were and their long history, including their fathers and grandfathers. Basically, their lore. In the second season, the feud between the Targaryen and Hightower families will start to get more attention. People who have watched Game of Thrones already know that Season 1 was just about figuring out the complicated web of relationships between the families, which will lead to a historical civil war in the end. Condal says he's really interested in picking up with all the characters they've spent so much time introducing, especially Rhaenyra and Alicent's families. He also wants to see what happens now that they've turned the chessboard upside down and dumped the pieces on the ground. What he means is that the worst triggers have already been set in motion, and now all we have to do is wait for complete chaos. Condal also talked about whether the big battle in House of the Dragon will be like the one in Game of Thrones. He doesn't really know if Dance of the Dragons will ever be as big as the first Game of Thrones because it went to north of the Wall, Esso, and all these other places. But hey, that doesn't mean this war doesn't have the potential to be the most brutal one in the franchise. And now, everything we know about the Sea Snake Game of Thrones spinoff. First up, the spinoff is currently in the making. In October of this year, during a virtual event with writer David Anthony Durham, George R.R. Martin confirmed that the Sea Snake spinoff is still being made. Still, he didn't really tell us anything else after that. It seems like Bruno Heller was working on writing the pilot for the Sea Snake, which we know from one of Martin's blog posts from March. Martin confirmed in the same blog post that both the Hedge Knight Knight and 10,000 Ships live-action shows are moving forward. Compare that to a blog post he wrote in June in which he said he was involved in the 3 shows he mentioned as well as the second Jon Snow movie, and we can see which spin-offs are most likely to happen. The Sea Snake, the Hedge Knight, 10,000 Ships, and Snow all fit this description. We don't know which one will come first though. The good news is that the Sea Snake spin-off is likely to happen, but it's impossible to say when. Up next, what the Sea Snake spin-off will talk about. Corlys Velaryon, also known as the Sea Snake, is a major character in Fire and Blood, George R.R. Martin's book about the history of the House Targaryen. The Velaryons come from Valyria and are close friends with the Targaryens. They run the island of Driftmark and are one of Westeros' oldest and most respected houses. House of the Dragon introduces us to Corlys as an older man, but Fire and Blood tells us about his eventful childhood, which we don't see on screen. Corlys loved the sea from a young age, going on trips and learning to be a good sailor. Also, the name Sea Snake come from the name of the ship he would eventually sail. Meister Mathis has a book called The 9 Voyages, which tells about his many journeys, and it looks like people in the Game of Thrones community have realized these voyages would make for a great TV show. Considering what we've seen of the Sea Snake in House of the Dragon, we would definitely love to know more about him in a different show with a spotlight being just on him.
Overwhelmingly supportive. People are so anticipating what's going to happen. It's amazing. I don't think I've ever been on anything that's had so many eyes on it before it's come out.
Lastly, Toussaint will probably not play the Sea Snake in the prequel. From how the prequel is going, it looks like HBO is expecting a big response to Corlys on House of the Dragon. Bruno Heller, the same dude who worked on shows like Rome, Gotham, and The Mentalist, is still working on the 9 Voyages / Sea Snake idea. The working title makes a reference to Corlys' famous journey on the Sea Snake, which was both the name of his ship and his own name. Corlys went to the legendary lands of Yi and Lang, where he found rare treasures that doubled the wealth of House Velaryon. Toussaint, who plays an older version of Corlys in House of the Dragon, told EW that he was actually pretty happy when he heard that the character was picked up.
Because for him, she is clearly the best candidate for that role. And so an awful lot of the season is about him trying to find a way either to get her back on the throne or to get his family close to the throne.
He also said that he didn't think he'd be in the movie. This is because since the spin-off is talking about the Sea Snake's many voyages, the show will probably have someone who is younger and more youthful looking. On the other hand, Toussaint did say that if he genuinely were given the opportunity to play the character in the sequel too, he would be happy about it. He said if he's lucky, he would start the show off by sitting down with a book and saying, "Let me talk about my life." But realistically, he said the best he can hope for is to make his current character in the House of the Dragon good, vivid, and interesting enough that people would want to know how that person got there. That's a wrap for this video. What are you expecting to see in House of the Dragon Season 2? Are you also interested in seeing a Sea Snake spinoff? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.